This video is for my entrepreneurs out there who are using a credit card that earns miles or points or has some sort of bonus system on it. I'm Jessica Lanning. I run an independent financial planning practice based in San Francisco and also serving clients in Utah. And I just want to give you stories from the front lines about how some other entrepreneurs are using these points or bonus systems. I can't give you tax advice. I'm not going to talk to you about what's legal and what's not. I think all of this is fair game, or I wouldn't be sharing it with you, obviously. But here's some ideas for you that you might want to implement. If you are already employing one of these cards when you get points or credit or bonus miles or whatever it might be, I'm not going to get into a philosophical discussion about whether or not you should or should not have one of these cards. I'm going to assume you've already had that conversation with yourself and you've decided to keep this card. Totally fine, by the way. This is a judgment-free zone. However, I want you to think about some of these ideas that I've seen other people use. So the obvious one is the one that you're probably doing. You earn all these miles, you earn these points, you cash in the cash, and usually you're using it for personal use. In other words, you've had a business credit card, you transfer those miles or whatever it is to your personal use and you use them. You go on trips, you pay for things, and you use it to get upgrades at hotels or on airlines, whatever it might be. But that's the obvious one. Kind of everybody does that. Here's some ones that maybe you haven't thought about. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have great years, you're going to have not so great years. And on those not so great years, you have these points around that are available. And it might be worth your while to actually take those points and reinvest them back into your business. And here's what I mean by that. If you're used to doing, let's say, a year-end event with your employees, or maybe you do an employee retreat, or whatever that looks like, and you typically pay for that out of income that comes into the business, the income is low. Use those points and go ahead and continue to do those retreats or go on those trips or have those events with your employees. It builds morale. Even when income is down for the year, it allows them to be together and get that creativity going. It actually might be a way to improve your income, right? And profitability in your business. So think about that. Like you could be using those points to reinvest in the business in that way and reinvest in your people. A second idea, very similar, is that let's say there's some program, a coaching program or a mentoring program or a peer-to-peer program that perhaps you've been putting off. You're like, I don't want to spend the money. I don't know if it's really worth it. And you keep passing on it. Well, maybe in some years using those points and actually going to those programs and testing them out and seeing if you like them might be a really great way to kind of get over the mental hump of, I don't want to spend the money on this. And so I would encourage you to perhaps use those points, money, cash, whatever it is, the bonus, and go and invest in yourself. Because again, that might improve your income, improve your profitability, give you more time off. I mean, who knows how you might use that to improve your business. So I really encourage you to think about that as well as an investment in your business. The third idea that I've seen other entrepreneur clients do is they will spoil a client. So let's say they know they've got a client that's going to be traveling personally or professionally, and they'll use those points to upgrade that client's seat on the airline or upgrade them at a hotel or provide them some other benefit as a thank you gift to them. I know that I would use it as a prospecting tool. That seems a little weird, but to use it as a way to say thank you or to spoil a client or to do something really sweet for a client who's done really something sweet for you, maybe a referral partner. Like there are some ways that you can use those points to spoil somebody else who might not otherwise get to be spoiled. And it is a way for you to really make that connection even stronger, and it will be unforgettable to them. One more thing that I'll tell you that I see people doing is that when they get cash back, let's say from a credit card, they will take that cash and then put it into high yield savings. In other words, they'll go and make money on that money. I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but if you are mindful about keeping a reserve account for your business, which I highly recommend that you do, it is a nice way to earn a little extra money and grow that account a little faster so that you don't need to keep feeding it. So another thing to think about, can you take some of the cash that you've gotten back from those credit cards and invest it as well? So these are some of the things that you could be doing with those points. I want to just bring to your attention a couple of things that are pitfalls for this. So I don't think you should have personal and business expenses on one credit card. I think that is potentially an IRS audit problem. It's a good financial practice to keep your business expenses and your personal expenses separate. I just think no matter what, you should know what your household economic situation looks like and what your business economic situation should look like. And it's a whole lot easier if those things are separate. So if you're going to implement these, you really should have a business credit card where you're racking up points. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you want to make sure you are paying your bills on time. If you are not paying your bills on time, you are incurring penalties, potentially late fees and interest on all of those payments. So if you're racking up interest, it's kind of defeating the purpose of getting the points and the cash back, right? That is not serving you at all. So just be mindful of that pitfall. And very similarly, the last pitfall is that, look, if you're using a credit card that's got an annual fee on it, you might also be defeating the purpose of getting the points or the cash or the bonus. So, you got to run your numbers. You got to make sure it makes sense. Some cards are very expensive. If you are not getting value back for that annual fee, then having that card actually might not be worth it. So just be mindful of those pitfalls. But I think these are some really great frontline tactics that might promote your business or allow you to be more profitable. And it's kind of another, I don't call it a profit center, but it is a way to help you to pay for some of your expenses or use them in a more strategic way. I'm Jessica Lanning. Lanning Does Planning.